This is the download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Thursday, September 4th. First up, Advertising Week New York's coming up. Let's talk about it. With September in full swing, I'm going to take a quick second to list out what Sounds Profitable is going to be doing this year at Advertising Week New York. On October 6th and 7th, the Podcast Zone returns for networking opportunities and panels, including Tom Webster debuting new data at the event. Sounds Profitable partners can still grab tickets to the event at a steep discount. I'm talking slightly over 70% steep. October 7th, YMH and Sounds Profitable are once again putting on a night of podcast comedy, taking over a New York City comedy club to do stand-up with podcast-savvy comics. While the Podcast Zone stage is already booked solid, there are some limited sponsorship opportunities available still for both the Zone and the Night of Podcast Comedy. You can reply to the newsletter version of today's episode or get in touch with the contact page on soundsprofitable.com if you're interested. On to our top story. The Podcast Landscape 2025, Part 1, is here. And this one focuses specifically on core podcast mechanics. As revealed in early teases of this report, audience expectations of podcasts to be audio or video have shifted slightly since last year. Audio-only expectations are down 5%, while maybe either increased 4%, with the extra 1% left over going into usually video, maybe audio expectations. As Tom Webster said during his Podcast Movement keynote talking about this, he pitches this less as audio has lost ground to video podcasting and more a sign that audiences like having choice, especially when you keep in mind that further data shows podcast consumers on YouTube still quite regularly consume video podcasts primarily as an audio experience. Multicultural consumption continues to grow in podcasting's audience as well. 55% of Americans 18 plus on average consume podcasts at least monthly. Despite the white dude bro image one finds in SNL skits about podcasting, white audiences technically are bringing down the overall average as white respondents only clock in at 52% total monthly podcast consumption. Compare that to 65% of Hispanic Americans partake of podcasts on a monthly basis, 62% of Black audiences, and 66% of Asia-Pacific audiences are tuning in. A significant driver of growth in podcasting over the past year has been both the growth of multicultural audiences and the growth of video and video platform podcasting. Next up, streaming investments are rising, but media buyers drive hard bargains over CPMs and fees. Here's a quick check-in on podcasting's main competition for ad dollars. Investment in streaming and connected TV, or CTV, has steadily increased in recent years, with it becoming commonplace for big brands like Hyundai to shift more of their linear TV budgets into CTV. Demand is high, spend is high, but margin remains about the same. Buyers report streamers eager to move inventory are bringing down costs behind closed doors to exchange for time commitments. For example, an anonymous buyer says Disney and Amazon ask for year-over-year commitment increases of 20 to 30% in exchange for lowering CPMs, or cost per thousand impressions. And for our final top story, team hires, studio rental fees, the hidden cost of creators. While this is not specifically targeting audio podcasters thinking of upgrading to being YouTubers, it does do a good job of outlining some of the more concrete terms and costs that come with doing that. While audio podcasting remains one of the mediums with the lowest barrier to entry, given the two main limitations are a device with a microphone and an internet connection, video podcasting does come with some extra baggage. In addition to purchasing the new gear, cameras, etc., there's also the space needed for the set, hiring a team to run the business and act as production crew, paying an expert specializing in clickable video thumbnails if you want YouTube attention, lighting and other tech costs you might not think about, and time spent respecing into your video production. All of which comes with extra tax implications involved with doing the aforementioned things. As for the rest of the news, the Podglomerate has teamed up with New York Festivals and Radio Awards to present a free webinar on October 1st at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time titled From Script to Success, Production Secrets from Trophy-Winning Podcasts. This features podcast production crew from NPR, CBC, and the Boston Globe. Acast now has AI ad production capabilities in their ad platform with the ability to generate audio in, supposedly, any language. The Forward Network is growing its true crime slate with the addition of the podcast The First Degree. Quill and Right Side Up are teaming up to publish a new guide called Branded Podcasts versus Podcast Advertising, What's Right for Your Brand. Oliver Gilpin has a new LinkedIn post looking at the recently announced collab feature on YouTube, which, for a reminder, that's a YouTube Shorts ads feature that allows the ad to look like it's being posted both by the creator involved and the brand involved so they both can get organic traffic back to their respective pages. This new tool is currently being used with an ad campaign run by the NFL and Jimmy Mr. Beast Donaldson. Empower has acquired Ocean Media, an agency with a fair amount of podcasting work, for $1.5 billion. And finally, AI advertising platform Smartly has announced an integration with Spotify Ads Manager that will allow brands and agencies to run Spotify audio and video campaigns directly from within Smartly. Be sure to check out the links to every article I've talked about by heading over to soundsprofitable.com and checking out the download section to find today's episode. Or you can click the handy dandy link in the show notes right now to go directly to that page. You can also subscribe to the newsletter version of the download while you're there. The download was written and produced by myself, Tom Webster, and Brian Barletta. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for the download recap.